Welcome to the DM Emporium podcast. We're podcast. That feels weird to say out loud, but we're a place where you can gather some information to help you with DMing, maybe even trade some in the comments. You know, we bring you builds, we bring you characters, we bring you ideas. We're even going to bring you plot points at some point if you keep listening. But today, what we're going to be bringing you is an amazing third-party source. That's right. We're going to do an entire episode dedicated to just one of the third-party sources out there. This one we actually played this weekend, run by Alex. Say hello, Alex.
Hello, Alex.
You son of a...
No, I had to do it to him.
Oh, and in case you didn't know us, we just a bunch of dudes played D&D. I did a 6-year 1-20 campaign, bunch of one-shots and things like that otherwise.
I have been playing D&D for roughly 2 decades in various forms and flavors. Have never run a 1-20. Still on the list of things to do. Looks like it might actually be building up towards that direction as we get into this third-party system. And I think I found something that really jives with me. And I really like running. And now the trick, I guess, is to convince you guys that you like playing it.
I mean, I was convinced after this last session because I got to play cowboy shit, and that's kind of my jam. But you know what? Let's just dive into it. The character I got to play, I'm going to put him on the adoption agency because it's a one-off, and Dexter Nash deserves maybe more than that.
True.
Although maybe I should play him like, you know what? We're going to just put him up for adoption and see what happens. This is the character adoption agency.
There are heroes whose tales have yet to be told. Maybe they can find a home in your game or played by you. The Character Adoption Agency for PC and NPC seekers.
All right, so this character is for the Ultramodern. Is it 5? Ultramodern 5. That's the one, the third party we were talking about. Ultramodern 5 is this really neat set of. You know what? You're the DM of this. You're the one who found it, who's been diving into it. How would you describe Ultramodern 5?
So Ultramodern 5 by Deus Ex Machina is a system where, and it looks like from what I've read and from what I've seen, it looks like a group of people who got together and they took everything that was fun and interesting about the old D20 modern system from around the 3rd edition or 3.5 era.
So about 2002?
God, must have been. I mean, geez, yeah. Because I know that me and the lads in high school played it, and that was quite some years ago. Whew. But looks like a bunch of people took all the good stuff from that and then just started applying it to the more modern D&D stuff and doing different classes and skills and all that sort of thing. And the way it's come out and manifested itself for 5th edition, hence Ultramodern 5, is a system that's actually fairly well balanced.
Until I broke it.
Well, it's...
Just kidding.
I don't know. I mean... The way you went about the build is interesting, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily broken because none of the enemies had long distance rifles.
That's true.
That would have probably changed your game a little bit.
I was in 3/4 cover. I felt pretty okay.
Yeah, I also liberally strewed cover around that town.
It's true, yeah.
But yeah, so Ultramodern 5 is basically it's D&D with a modern twist. It has its own set of classes, its own set of races, where I think that really shines is humans, because it gives a bunch of different options so that when everyone inevitably shows up to the session as a human, they're not all the same person wearing different hair colors.
Oh yeah, I really like that. The addition of the tables you can roll on, which we'll get into more when we hit our renowned resources section. We'll talk about this more, but
yeah,
that kind of gives you guys an idea of what we'll be talking about. Like there's guns, there's new feats, these really cool things called ladders, which I can't wait to get into.
Yes.
But let's get started with the concept for Dexter Nash. Dexter Nash, I was told basically we're going to be doing
Weird
Magnificent
West.
7 Weird West. We're going to be defending a town and, that sort of thing. So I brought the classic bounty hunter guy and everything like that, shows up in his hat, his duster, and his attitude.
Yep. And
slightly sour, but ready to do the job. And, with Dexter, I had him have a book full of bounties that I didn't even tell Alex about at the beginning of it. And then as soon as I just introduced him as writing in this book, and then Alex is like, oh yeah, there's shit in that book. Don't worry. And he just threw things at me to connect me with other people's stories. It was perfect. If you have it in your game and want to play Dexter, talk to your DM. He or she could put, all sorts of hooks, funness, all sorts of greatness inside of there that's just free for them to play around with. Now, this might sound weird for a gun build because everybody's expecting dexterity to be up high, but there's a certain, what was that, background lifestyle?
It was your ladder.
There's a ladder you can take called Veteran, and that lets you swap all of your dexterity-based weapon attacks for wisdom-based. So I wanted to have this eagle eye, and I didn't want to be a face for once, so I actually dumped charisma, but I wanted this eagle eye, that guy's lying, or here they come, that sort of kind of quieter but intense character. Like when they spoke, it was a
shut up and listen.
Exactly. But the nice thing about doing the wisdom with instead of the dexterity is, I gotta pump my perception, pump my, survival, like just things that you expect like a cowboy tracker to naturally have.
Yeah.
For race, I did this silly thing. There's a really cool race called Altered. Now, Altered is basically exactly what it sounds like. You're an altered humanoid of some sort, and you get to choose a bunch of benefits, and you can even take a detriment to get another feature. So I took 4 arms. So that way I could hold guns in each hand and not have to worry about reloading, just keep firing. Basically the Boondock Saints dad version of
the Wild West mutant version of him.
Well, and the best part is mechanically, if you have, I guess if you dipped rogue, you'd fast hands draw some other ones as a bonus action, but
sure.
Doesn't matter. I wanted that weird West kind of feel to it. So, 4 revolvers and then 2 shotguns, which, while I was playing him, I had him hide his extra arms and shotguns in his duster and then just bust them out whenever anybody got close. That was super fun. So yeah, I did 2 extra arms, and then I gave him really keen hearing, but you can take it up to a second tier, which gave him blind fighting out to 20 feet. Now, 20 feet is this guy's kill zone.
Seriously, though.
Because that's when your shotguns come into play, and those are D10s, and then it's just insane. I'll get into why it's insane as we continue to go here, but I took a detriment in order to get all 3 of those, because I was, 1 arms, then 2 tiers of keen hearing. Mm-hmm. I took the detriment of deformity. I made him specifically too ugly to be a face or anything like that. So that way, even if I was tempted to, I would be so bad at it that I couldn't do it. Because, one thing I've been accused of is no matter what my character's charisma score is, they always have good charisma. And I was like, I'm not doing that this time. Even mechanically, it's not going to work that way. But, other than that, I took a breastplate because we were level 8. Yeah, level 8. Breastplate, thieves' tools, some rope, and some hunting traps, which I was going to set up around our sniper, but then sniper just ran up a building and just...
She posted up there, and she made very fine use of that position.
Oh, man. It was really fun watching them use half their movement to stand up, fire, half their movement to... was it 5 feet of movement to drop prone, and then use the extra 10 feet of movement to reload one shot, because they pop up, take somebody's head off, drop back down into full cover.
And reload. That's exactly how you do it.
But as far as the character stats, we went 10 in strength, 14 in dexterity, because dexterity is still pretty important as for doing your sneaking around and your thieves' tools and things like that. That was going to be my secondary function if it ever came up. Constitution, 13, so that way, an improvement score could bring that up, get you a little more health, because starting with 52 at level 8 is a little...
rough.
Yeah, I got dropped down to 36 in 2 attacks. It was like, oh, pants shitting time. Vigor is a stat used in Ultramodern for magic. Didn't have any magic, so I just dropped that for 9. Intelligence took 12 because there's this, it gave me a little bit better history checks and things like that. And also I just wanted to drop charisma, so that got the 8. And then wisdom, I used all of my improvements from... literally basically any improvements I could give him before level 8 to cap wisdom at 20, which interesting enough in Ultramodern, if I'd continue to play Dexter, you can naturally cap at 22, which I really like.
Actually, you can cap higher depending on your use of cybernetics, but
just using ladders. Yeah,
yes.
That's right. Cybernetics get as crazy as they should be. They're fucking cybernetics,
Absolutely.
But as you can see, my character was really good at one big thing, shooting people, because that's what he do. Interesting enough, the gunslinger gives you dexterity and wisdom saving throws. So at least my proficiency in my saving throws was really good. Now, if I'd had to do literally any other saving throw, I probably would have been a little screwed, because I think my other best modifier was a 1. Other than that, I had a 0 and 2 negative ones. Yeah, so that's fun.
Damn.
Luckily, didn't have to make any of those. So.
Nope.
If you're going to play Dexter, keep that in mind, that saving throws are not going to be your friend unless it's wisdom or dexterity. Speed is 30 on the altered class unless you take...
Race.
altered race, unless you take enhanced legs, not extra legs. You can take extra legs to do other weird things, but that's not one of them. The really neat thing about the gunslinger class, it has this thing. Well, first you get converging fire, which lets you use, basically you can use light ranged weapons as 2-weapon fighting. So if you're dual wielding and you have 2 attacks, you actually get 3 because you can use that bonus action attack. And I was a high enough level, I even got to add my ability modifier to the damage, which was really nice. The cinematic style lets you basically use 2-handed weapons as 1-handed weapons. So that was cool. That was the one that lets you use them. Converging fire, basically when somebody gets close to you, you get +2 to hit them and 1 to your AC because you have guns trained on them, and that, makes people skittish. Okay, and then the resource, that thing that makes the class super fun is called kata.
The not key points.
Exactly, the not key points. Because, you're basically a gun monk
Yeah, I mean, one of the kata things you can use, I think, is even called equilibrium.
Yeah,
so
that's what I took.
Hey.
Yeah, equilibrium. Basically, if somebody shoots at you, you can spend a kata to shoot back at them. It's really nice.
Seems reasonable.
Yep. The classic tumble, where the cowboy, rolls. They even give it to McCree in Overwatch. It's that classic sort of thing where basically whenever you take damage from any source, saving throw, whatever, you can tumble and take a quarter damage. So, in those big damage situations, you might not have the best saves or AC, but you can reduce the damage quite a bit if you take this. If you don't, good luck. The one that I abused the shit out of was called Just One Bullet. Now, Just One Bullet allows you to add your wisdom modifier to all of your attacks. Now, all of my attacks are already wisdom based, so it let me double my wisdom. So I had +10 to every attack. So I would be doing, if I spent 2 kata, that would give me 4 attacks. And that's 40-10 plus 40. And against a bunch of gnolls, they were having a blast to death.
Ha ha. Now, mechanically, I'm not sure if that was actually legal, but I ruled that it was because it sounded fun at the time. And it was hilarious.
Okay, so advice for DMs hearing this nonsense. What would you recommend for them for a longer game?
I would recommend discussing what your players' plans are for the characters. They look through the class and everything, and anytime that you see overlap, like say from their ladder making wisdom their primary combat score, point out to them that things like Just One Bullet probably aren't going to stack for you, so maybe consider taking other options.
You know what, thinking about it, what I would have done? You can add your dexterity modifier to it.
Sure, okay.
Because it gives you the same overall bonus,
So I can dig it.
If I would have thought about that when we were playing, I would have pitched that. I just thought about it right now, I promise you.
It. No, that's a really
it's still
good plan.
A +7, but it's not quite as ridiculous, and it's more in the nature of the
it keeps it doing exactly what it was doing originally. Your dexterity and your wisdom to the damage.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Yes, exactly.
So, there you go, folks.
We solved it. Yay!
Hooray, go us.
And then, and then my ladder I took was cleaner.
No, that was your subclass, your archetype.
Archetype. That's right. Oh, the cool thing about Ultramodern, where you don't take, subclasses are not specific to any class. They're called archetypes, and you can choose them and add them to anything.
Yes.
The one I chose was cleaner, and it literally has a picture of John Wick.
I mean, I don't think it's literally John Wick.
I mean,
it's as close as you can get without a copyright violation.
Exactly. And the 2 abilities I got that were once in the head and twice in the chest.
Those are 2 separate abilities.
2 separate abilities, yes. Twice in the chest gives you more attacks, and they're all at advantage. Oh, yeah, I forgot. They'd all be at advantage.
Yep.
And then once in the head lets you add triple your level to an attack. And the cool thing about both of these is if you kill somebody using it, they recharge, but they only do once, so you can do 2 times a day, but only if you're careful about using them, which I really like. I also got ridiculously lucky while playing this character because there are kata that the Just One Bullet, if you get a crit, you get that kata back. And so, I started with 7 kata, but I used about 11.
Man, you were crit fishing with dynamite.
Oh, dude. I feel like I didn't take the thing that reduced it to 18. But
jeez.
Yeah.
I kept hoping that would pop. The sniper gets a similar ability. I kept hoping our sniper would get that. He just kept rolling like 16s.
It was
man.
Tragedy. Oh, I forgot to mention the other cool thing about Veteran is that, because, that's like, oh, whoop-de-doo, why did you waste so much on that? Well, this is why, because you get rerolls.
Oh, yeah.
Equal to your...
gut instinct or whatever it was.
Yes, yeah. It's equal to your wisdom modifier, and then you get 2 more as you level. So I had 7 of those total. 7 rerolls to crit fish as well. And then this really cool thing I think it's called Good Guess. I kept calling it gut instinct because that's felt more cowboy.
Yeah.
But you can make basically knowledge checks using your wisdom score. I chose history. So like basically your characters lived in this world long enough that they can get like a gut instinct to build like I've heard about this, or I can conjecture this accurately, and that was really fun to play with because that happens a lot when playing, TTRPGs, but having a mechanical way to verify it is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so other than that, you got Dexter Nash here, the guy who wrote in is going here for some bounties, and he's going to, I considered making part of his backstory. You could either do the almost the classic Rocket Raccoon at this point where, whoever altered him, he's trying to find them, or I was going to flip it and make it so that the person who was working with him to alter him and everything, like he's going to avenge that person because, that's why his alterations stopped where they did.
And his face looks like melted wax.
Exactly. Maybe it got interrupted. They were going to do something to make him more, charismatic, give him some, innate something or another, and then it screwed up and his face got melted. And so now like his only path forward he could see was vengeance and going for bounties because nowhere else was going to accept a forearm face melted.
Oh, I've got it. So the person that was working to alter him, they were working together, not necessarily on like the super soldier thing, because that's what I always go with, but to make him a more efficient infiltrator, assassin, spy, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was supposed to be to make him like a changeling so that he could alter his form. But because it got screwed up with mid thing, he's just always got that nasty wax baby look. Oof. Wax baby is a pejorative term that goblinoids and Eberron use for changelings, and I love that.
That's funny. Oh, because they shape it like wax. Okay, yeah, exactly. Perfect. And so when you're playing him, I recommend doing your gruffest cowboy voice. Just throw it down there, add a little kind of on top of it, and there you go. He's just this kind of bastard. But remember, do not be a bastard to your fellow players. If I was playing Dexter, you see them as resources. They are valuable resources to be used, not to be fucked with, and that your charisma is not going to get you through. So you need to kind of trade them to get them to help you. You have information. That's what the book also helps a lot with. You have information about this world. You can make gut checks about things. You can you're like, be useful for me and I'll be useful for you, and we can get some job done and some money made, and maybe I can get one step closer to finding, that person who fucked my face up forever.
If you're lucky, when the party meets in the saloon, not tavern, it's cowboy times, there's a bar fight that breaks out, and you can illustrate exactly how useful you are in a fight. And if I were a player and not the DM in that group, and it started with a bar fight and you ended it like you ended some of those gnolls, you'd be hired on the spot.
Well, it'd be a bar fight. I wouldn't be killing. I'd just be forearm punching my way through people.
Forearm punching's a good way to get you into my good graces.
That's fair. Okay. But there you go. There's the first part, a little dip dive into Ultramodern of Dexter Nash, the gunslinger, drifter, altered cleaner, who was a veteran.
Good Lord.
No, there's a lot. That's the thing. The character creation process we'll get into after this, but there you go. Have some fun with Dexter.
Please do. He was a great character to run a game for.
And as you just heard, we are now in The Way We Play. This is kind of just anecdotes and things that we find useful and kind of give you an insight on how we play and see if that style vibes with you, works for you, or if there's, just something maybe here useful for you.
Yeah.
Which is, we always hope something's useful.
Yeah. Well, we've been playing this between us for almost 30 years.
Yeah, there you go.
And, hopefully we can maybe give some newer DMs or something an idea of things that can help. Or one of my hopes is that players will also listen to this. Yeah. And then they'll take some of this stuff and maybe bring it to their DM like, hey, boss, what if we started doing things this way? And it makes the game better for everyone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. If you're just a player and you listen to all this DM stuff and you're like, I like the character, but, how does the rest apply to me? It's if it gives you a better perception on, your part in the game, because too many players think of it like a video game. They're just logging in and playing their character and everything. You can talk to your DM about stuff you want to do. It doesn't have to be a secret.
You should talk to the DM.
That's a whole nother tangent. We got to focus on what we're here today to talk about. Wow, we almost...
All right.
Whoa, boy. I can bring it back. No, today we're going to talk... Since we're talking about third-party systems and things like that, we're going to talk about how to introduce this to your players, because guaranteed your players are going to go, oh, God, another set of rules. I just learned the rules. Oh, fuck. So you're currently going through the introduction of Ultramodern to the group we're playing with.
Yeah.
We talked a bunch about how to introduce it before we started, and so start with the introducing it as a concept, and then I think go into the mechanics of introducing it.
All right. Well, As far as introducing the concept, I've been very open for a long time with this group about, the kind of games I like to play. And it usually involves firearms at some level or another. But, a lot of modern stuff. I've always been really interested in running military games, but that's because of, some life experiences and stuff. One of the best games I ever ran was a space game, which we literally it was before Spelljammer came out, and Spelljammer didn't do anything good for space games, in my opinion, but we'll get into that another time. I took 5th edition D&D, plopped it into spaceships, and found some unearthed Arcana thing that had a couple of modern classes that didn't actually really work for what we wanted, but we made do, or they were subclasses, not classes.
Makes sense.
So it was something that the group knew that I was interested in for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was just one day kind of dicking around on the internet, like looking for, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it must have been some sort of sci-fi thing for, man, I still really want to run one of these games. And I came across this Ultramodern system, looked around. I couldn't find squat. I mean, I think there are like 3 YouTube videos about it somewhere.
Hey, we'll be another source for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, if we ever did the whole recorded sessions or anything, I'd love to do Ultramodern. I want to get those guys some more screen time.
Oh, yeah.
I looked around, found that, read some really good reviews. It was rated well on, I think, DriveThruRPG or something like that.
It's a good resource.
Yeah. This is something I would not advise other DMs do. I just bought it. I didn't talk to the group about it or anything.
Bold.
I had that much faith in it because, reading what I did, I was like, wow, I think this is it. This is going to be worth it. So I just straight up bought it, bought a print to order copy of the book and the PDFs because I'm a big one for having hard copies of books just because, one day when all the power goes out and there's nothing left to do between raiding for supplies and fighting off other raiders, we're going to play D&D.
I mean, honestly, is there a better pastime in the apocalypse?
No. Actually, it was originally for this whole plan of living up in Alaska. And, well, what are you going to do?
Tell them where you're going. My God, man.
For the apocalypse? Absolutely not Alaska. But anyway, So I just bought it. And then when I had the PDF, I shared it around to my group of friends and our group. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, so here's this, look at it at your leisure, but this is something that just so you know, I'm going to be running. I'm going to be using these rules. If for no other reason, then, well, I just paid money for it and I'm not going to tell you how much.
And then one of our players found it at a thrift store for like $5.
He found the hard copy of the book for $5 at a secondhand bookstore in town, which bully for him. I mean, great timing, happy for him, but it should have been me.
It should have been me. That reminds me, I got to go check that bookstore sometime this week.
Seriously. Oh, that is a great place for all sorts of gaming resources. Yeah. I can't tell you how many Death Watch books that we found there.
Actually, yeah, that's the tip of the day. Go check your used bookstores for any RPG stuff. You're going to find
all sorts of stuff. Seriously, yeah.
Because there's always people getting into and out of and deciding they have too many books in this hobby. So
contentious divorces.
She got them in the divorce and sold them. I had to buy them back for a quarter of the cost. No, sorry. Anyway. So you picked up this, you blind bought Ultramodern and then said, hey guys, we're doing this because I bought this.
Yeah, at some point. And then we did like a little one shot that was kind of fun, and then everyone wanted it to be a whole campaign, and I was like, no, because I didn't plan that. But
well, okay, hold on. Okay, he basically says, hey, I want to do a one-off where we're playing this Ultramodern system, and the character creation in Ultramodern is really, really fun because it has all of these tables to help enrich your backstory. You get family members, you get loves, you get lost loves, you get enemies, you get like all of these things that it gives you like a single line, like, oh, your enemy betrayed you. But like when you're in the character creation process, you're already in that creative juice space. You're like, oh, okay, I know who did this. This motherfucker did that. Yeah. And then, oh yeah, I have a lover I'm still good friends with. Oh, okay, then this is going to be like this kind of person. And your brain just grabs at archetypes to throw into these positions that you just start. And so part of the amazing thing about the character creation process is, if you fully engage with it and trust the randomness of the table to enhance your story and not tell your story, because that I think is a key point. But
and an easy trap to fall into.
Easy trap, but it's just kind of like a guided tour almost of character creation, so that you have not only a bunch of cool stuff, so you know more about your character, or you can just form more ideas about your character, but you also be like, here, DM, here's all these NPCs to play with, have fun with those.
Yeah.
And so, the second one off, we didn't do that part because we didn't want to get all obsessed with the characters, even though I totally didn't. I'm addicted to that freaking shoot 'em now, let's go.
So is our sniper. She struggled with not getting too deep into character. And I was like, look, you can get as deep in as you want, but I'm promising you this is only a one-off. I am not going to turn this into a full game.
Yeah.
So what had happened was everyone got super involved in their characters and their backstories and everything. And they were like, well, we just spent 3 hours doing character creation because it takes a minute.
Oh, yeah. Definitely session 0 for that. Actually, probably a -1 and a 0. -1 for character creation, 0 for setting. Yeah. No, swap that. Sorry. 0 for setting, then, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But, so then kind of mechanically how I went about introducing it properly, like we did do that session 0, everyone got to, make characters, and then I ran them through like a little gang fight in the streets or something.
Which we were, oh my God.
Hilariously equipped. One of our players insisted on wearing a bright yellow hazmat suit because it gave him the best armor class and protection from gas attacks for his level, which that guy, what a silly fellow.
Oh man.
But anyway,
meanwhile, the rest of us have like a fucking bulletproof vest and no sleeves, kicking in the door. Yeah, I remember it was a 2-story building. I thumpered the upper floor and then walked in, and I was playing the heavy, so I just stood and I could cover everybody behind me in any doorway. So I just stood in the doorway and we just blasted everybody. It was great.
Yeah, that's how we did that. And then to kind of refresh everyone on how the rules worked, I decided, hey, we're going to do another one shot. Don't worry so much about your character's backstory. It's going to focus mainly on combat. And I've now told the group, there's going to be a couple more one shots than some like short shots, 4 to 6 session things. And I think that's a good way to introduce a new system to a party. That way you're not trying to tell your big epic story with a group of people that don't know what the rules are. Now, Ultramodern 5 is it's really cool. It's dense, but also it is 5th edition. At its core, it's 5th edition. It looks scary. There's a lot of extra stuff going on. It seems very overwhelming at first, but once you get into it and you realize, oh, this is the same thing. You roll a d20, there's advantage, disadvantage, all the same rules still apply. Even some of the starting equipment for different classes. It's like the infiltrator gets a disguise kit and a poisoner's kit. Those aren't in the Ultramodern book. They're in the player's handbook.
Yeah, and hell, you can play any class.
Yes.
From D&D. So like
DM's permission pending.
DM's permission pending. Yeah. If Bard might not always fit. Oh my God. Can you imagine a fucking
heavy barbarian?
No, a DJ Bard.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's fucking Lucio, I guess.
It depends on how much magic is going to be in the game.
That's fair.
Now they do, it's not that it suggests that you run no magic, but it's kind of built around the idea of not necessarily having magic as a go-to.
Well,
which we'll get into later.
It has its own subsection magic rules that are more fitting to the campaign setting of, because, if too much magic precludes technology advancement for a lot of people in their brains.
For a lot of people.
So like it having its own kind of magic that you can use and engage with is super neat. And the fact you can pretty much staple magic to any class, right?
You absolutely can.
Yeah. That's
at least as far as I've read, and I've done my due diligence here. I'm 99% certain that you could just be playing any old class. Like there's some investment you would have to do.
Yeah.
But if your DM allows it, then you can do it.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I was really, really surprised how once we started playing, how familiar it was, how just straight up, it's just D&D with some more options.
Yeah. And it was, for some of our players, it was a little more overwhelming, but that's because they started at level 8. And we figured out that, if you start at level 1 with the Ultramodern system and you have faith in the system and you actually do play one of the classes from the book, not, oh, well, everyone's going to be running around using guns. I'm going to be a rogue. Okay. I mean, it can work, sure, but invest in the system you're investing in. Right?
I like how you used the one that I think would be most likely to be used in that setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's running around. I think I'm going to be a wizard,
Well, yeah. I mean, wizards would also be horrifyingly powerful in that setting, I think.
Oh, I was thinking they'd be super vulnerable because of all the ranged weapons.
Yeah, but a wizard's like their go-to damaging cantrips do as much damage as a shotgun.
You mean I can buy cantrip shotgun shells?
We'll come back to that later.
Okay.
Anyway, so how to mechanically introduce this? We keep getting sidetracked. It's my fault.
What? No.
I suggest doing a couple of one-offs with your group and focusing on different things. So like if I did another one-off, which I think we're just going to jump right into a short shot, but if I did another one, this one was very, very combat focused. Like that was the whole thing. It was the entire session was some very brief introduction and then fighting a bunch of, gnolls, because I had like a whole thing going on.
And I had a gnoll kill policy.
Yeah, he did.
I showed them gnoll mercy.
Oh my God. Anyway, take some time, take each session to focus on different aspects of stuff. And that way everyone gets kind of the full experience of what they can expect to deal with while they're playing with this system. And it doesn't come as a surprise, because I think I started to say, the last thing you want is, you get 10 levels into this, 1 to 20 campaign, and then someone looks at you up from the book and goes, wait, I could have been doing this from the beginning.
Wait, how do I get into magic? There's magic?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, that sucks for them. It sucks for you as a DM, because now it's like, oh, geez, I should have told you. It just, slipped my mind. I didn't even think about it.
I do think for the short shot, I'm going to do a magic user just to dive into that awesome looking system.
Good, because magic users are a whole thing for that setting. It's a World War I game. It's spicy. Anyway.
I'm going to be an elephant colonel with an English accent.
Here we go, man. Let's get into those trenches.
That sort of craziness.
I love it, actually.
Going to be nuts.
Anyway, so yeah, taking just a whole session to focus on different things. Now, I'm not saying, take a session to focus on one particular skill or anything like that, but if
not
it's
that granular.
Yeah. But do one for combat, because most game systems, let's face it, are built around combat. Do one for if it's got a social interaction or combat system like a Zweihander does. Take a whole session to dive into that, because, if you're going to be running a campaign where that sort of stuff is important, or even if you don't plan on it, your players might plan on it at some point. So take some time, go through all of that to make sure that everyone knows what those rules are. And then, do one that covers skill use and things like if the system has chase rules, wrap those in with skills, because I guarantee the skills are what makes the chase rules happen.
Oh, yeah.
And then, do that so that you can focus on all these different sections so that everyone knows all of what's going on without having to, sit down and have study sessions out of the book and homework, because that's boring.
Ooh, does that mean the next section is going to involve vehicles and vehicle combat?
Actually, no. I'm going to be saving the vehicle combat for a thing following the World War I game.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because tanks and dirigibles and biplanes.
We're going to go from World War I to World War II. You're in fury. Go. No.
Oh, my God. Don't. Oh,
yeah. I got him. All right.
I love the movie.
So, yeah, as a player, I've really enjoyed the way that you've introduced everything, because it's one of those, at first you're looking at all of these options. Now, I get excited about options, but even then I was like, there's too many to choose just one. But then when you're like, no, there's going to be a bunch of short shots, so I can try out a bunch. I can pick and choose and, try out these classes before committing to one before an entire campaign.
Yeah. And that's another thing is, you don't want to show up for the 1 to 20, full on epic. This is the Star Wars of our group type thing. And you end up playing a class you flippin' hate.
Hey guys, I'm a civilian. I heard it gets good eventually. Civilian classes.
I still don't understand how to use that class, but I'll let other people play it.
Maybe that's what I'll do. A magic civilian next. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean,
for not the World War I.
Well, even if it's World War I, a civilian is still technically an appropriate class to play, because
you're drafted.
The draft. Yeah. In fact, I wouldn't suggest that everyone play a civilian, but I'm certainly not going to fight someone if they want to.
I wonder if I can talk everybody to taking the Blood Brothers thing.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Okay, because I was thinking about doing the Marshal for the next one. Mm-hmm. And then if everybody's Blood Brothers and Marshal and crazy, that'd be...
We'll explain what all of this means later.
Well, we're not...
as we get deeper into the system itself.
That's fair. All right. So this is kind of the way we play. That's kind of how do you introduce the systems to your players, kind of some of the anecdotes of how it's worked for us. Yeah. And let's see, what do you think next? You want to do talk about spells, or you just want to go dive directly into, you know what? Look at the time. It's going to take a while to go through this resource. So why don't we dive into Renowned Resources?
Renowned Resources. Enhance your game with the best resources out there.
All right, and now for our renowned resource of the podcast. You'll never guess what it is. It's Ultramodern. Yeah, we're going to continue to talk about Ultramodern, things we like about it. I know we've already mixed in quite a bit of it. So if you're looking for a system that guns are a viable option, magic's a viable option, tech is a viable option, and they all have just the sick amount of flavor to them, this is a really good system for it. What kind of... Now, you've run now, let's see, it was a Criminal Underground one-shot.
Basically, Saints Row and or John Wick, depending on how long it had gone on.
Ours went way more Saints Row than John Wick, but yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you also ran a Weird West cowboy setting. Mm-hmm. So as far as the games that you want to play with this system,
we don't have time.
I was just going to say, is there anything you don't recommend for this setting?
Yeah,
I think that's a shorter list.
I actually would not recommend using Ultramodern 5 for like the 1700s. 7 Years' War, Revolutionary War, that sort of era where the muzzleloader is king, but there's also still melee combat that happens. Whether you're using magic or not, I think that other systems or just normal 5th edition would probably be better. You could still use the classes, but I probably wouldn't use the firearms out of the book. One, they don't actually have any support for muzzleloaders and stuff. I think they expect you to kind of use the DMG for that.
Actually, that's the really cool thing about the equipment is it's broken into technological eras, and they're all slightly after that.
So tech level 0, tech level 0 is technically everything up to 6 guns and stuff. Tech level 0 is what the cowboy thing was for, because that covers shotguns, revolvers. Interestingly enough, they don't have any repeaters, like
the classic cowboy repeater. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have anything for that.
I think they included it. They thought of it as more of a what's the long gun that they put in there?
Bolt action rifle.
Yeah, they thought it and bolt action were similar enough, but I disagree so much.
Me too. I'd give it shorter range, bump the damage down to 1d6, give it the breach property, but with, depending on which model you're reenacting, I'd say just 15 rounds is really easy to go with.
I would also give it an attack as a bonus action, because that's the fun of having a repeater.
Your classes and ladders will cover that for you, I think. Just putting those rules in for it, and then dropping the range to somewhere between a revolver and a bolt action rifle.
So like a 5200. Because I know that was pretty close to what the revolver was. I think the revolver only went out to 180. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to get that granular.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But no, there is some stuff that you might have to adjust for doing different settings, but they don't actually have anything really for before the West, as it were.
No Napoleonic Wars or anything?
Probably not Napoleonic. Again, I think you could do a really interesting Napoleonic style game, including magic and stuff, and do kind of a twist on it. But using normal D&D would really be good. Now, they do go in this book to, hey, use these guns, not the ones out of the DMG, because the pistol, just the normal 9mm out of the Dungeon Master's Guide for 5th edition, does 2d6 damage.
Jeez.
And also they did a really weird thing with the ranges in the DMG guns, where the maximum range is only 3 times the short range instead of 4 like every other weapon in D&D. So they're really powerful, but they're short range, and just the rules just kind of don't make sense for them. So I understand that. But if you were to do something in the Napoleonics, so to speak, that sort of muzzle loading era, I would say, use the musket and the flintlock pistol, I think, are what the 2 options are.
Yeah, basically they're meant to be resource heavy, slow use, whereas Ultramodern takes it that these are very standard weapons. Like these are things people are going to be using a lot.
This is your long sword. This is your short sword. I mean, it's, what it reminds me of, actually thinking about it, is the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet. Because there's one part in the very beginning where I think it's the Capulet is like, hand me my longsword, ho, and he's reaching for a shotgun. Yeah. And it's exactly like that. It's not, it's even, I would say it's more like in D&D when the DM just looks the other way at counting arrows. Now, I wouldn't, because I'm a stickler for running out of ammo at critical situations, but it definitely, with the amount of ammunition you're expected to be able to carry, it's obvious that they want you to have your gun ready to use at any old time, just like in a normal fantasy setting you would your sword, your bow, your cantrips. Yeah.
Okay.
So games I would not run, 18th century, 18th to very early 19th century.
Perfect. Now, and pretty much one nice thing about this is literally goes so far into the future with tech levels and everything.
It loops back around to magic.
Well, kind of.
No, it straight up says, so there's 5 tech levels, 6, I guess, because there's 0 to 5. And tech level 0 being, requires basically no technology. Up to tech level 5, where I'm 90% certain the book says that technology and magic at this level are indistinguishable. So just kind of go nuts. Have fun.
Hell, you could run a cyberpunk game almost with these rules.
Yeah, no, you absolutely could. The cybernetic section is
robust.
It's one of the more robust sections in the equipment. I mean, it gets, I think, almost as much page time as weapons and armor. So, that shows a level of support. Now, something that I will talk about in this section is things that I don't like about this system, which are few and far between.
Well, let's do the things that you really, really like and that hooked you first.
Oh, okay. Absolutely.
What were the hooks?
Classes. I mean, that's the start of it is, the first thing I look at anytime I look at any resources. What are the classes like? Okay. And this one has a lot of really interesting ones. And what actually got me with the classes is a class that I will probably never play. The Face, which is straight up just a class, but it says it all over the book. I mean, I can think of like 2 or 3 times independently of spots where it says this. The Face is not a combat class. If you bring the face into a combat situation and expect them to shine, it's not going to work out for you. They're probably going to die.
So you like the more specialized rather than generalized.
Yes. And I like the option that not everyone has to be good at combat because, in the same way that the face isn't going to be good at combat, if you take a heavy, an infiltrator, and a sniper and put them in a dinner party where they're trying to sneak around and, do some James Bond shit, that's probably not going to work out well for them.
No.
And I really appreciate that, some of these classes are really good at fighting. Most of them actually are really good at fighting. Some of them are good at other things. Like the civilian is just, as far as I can understand when I read it, is just okay at a lot of stuff.
I figured out how to explain the civilian. The civilian is John McClane. You are luckier than you should be.
Yeah.
You're more durable than you should be.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's nothing that special about you until you get to a high enough level and then you become like the clear action hero. So you're basically how he evolves through the movies. By like the third movie, he can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah. Okay.
You're playing a John McClane, Indiana Jones. You get beat up.
Yeah.
But somehow you keep going because you're the hero of this story eventually.
Yeah, true. That is something. The civilian definitely seems like it's the hero of whatever campaign you're running because as it starts out, they're baby. You got to take care of them. They're soft, gentle little thing. Yeah. Protect this person. And then as things go on and they continue to just shine in weird random places, very clearly they will end up becoming some kind of main character. So anyway, damn that class. But
can I tell you one of the things that hooked me?
Yeah.
The ladders. Now, ladders, This is this really cool concept where basically instead of taking your feats or your ability score improvements, they're called ladders because you can take these in place of any of those things, but the more you take them, the better things you get out of them.
Yeah.
And they're really flavorful and really well defined. Mm-hmm. So you can actually help build your character around the idea of these ladders and add it to the classes to just get crazy combinations like I did with the gunslinger and the veteran.
Yeah.
But all of the ladders can work really well to either make you better at what you're already good at, shore up things that you're bad at, or give you another option of things to do. And they're all so good and flavorful. They're like having like a subclass almost.
Yeah, they really are. Well, the book describes them as like, think about them more as a series of related feats. Like it's almost back to like the 3-5 like feat trees that they had.
I forgot about the feat trees. Dude, 4E I think also had feat trees.
That wouldn't surprise me.
4E was just a video game on paper.
The thing that I really like about the ladders is so like you get most of your abilities at I want to say like 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th maybe. Mm-hmm. Give me a sec. I'm actually pulling it up right now so that I can give people actual stuff. All right. So for your ladders, you get instead of an ability score increase or a feat at 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th levels, you can take one of these things. And that's really cool. And it's like most of them are, kind of half feats where you get a little bit of an ability score boost. And a lot of times, whatever the primary ability score that you choose, because there's usually an option for the ladder is, your max will bump up to 22. So that's kind of nice. Now that combination of increasing the max to 22 and also you gain additional abilities at 5th, 11th, and 17th levels. Those two things are meant to represent the fact that in most Ultramodern games, you're not going to be finding magic weapons, magic armor, increased ability, or not increased abilities, but like
some of them give you increased ability score,
For the 5, 11, and 17 abilities, it again, in the book just says, hey, so you're probably not going to be finding a +1 sword or a flame tongue or, anything like that. This is to represent and kind of make up for the lack of magic items.
Well, that's one thing I really, really liked about the combination of the ladders and everything like that. Without those, Dexter actually has far less options. And, the classic fighter complaint, I hit him with the sword, great weapon master, there's my variation for the day, the barbarian, reckless, great weapon master. But like having like the more options and everything, it makes it more fun to play because, I've done my fair share of fighters and stuff like that. And I always have to do the flavor of fighter that has something else to do, like the Echo Knight. But this gives you that extra options and flavor and just something else to do, but hit him with the stick,
No, yeah. But I like that they put something in for the fact that you're not going to have magic weapons, and it's something that grows with your character as time goes on. And I think that's really neat, especially because, again, you could finish the campaign with the equipment you started with.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're like a sniper, because their class starts with a basic sniper rifle. That might be the same gun you're lugging around from 1 to 20.
Our level 8 one-shot. Level 8, you normally have a magical item at least, you know? But like we were just rocking base guns and grit and fun, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely agree. Ladders are one of the really cool things about it. Just conceptually as like hey, here's a themed group of feats that might fit a certain character style or build, but also, hey, there's no magic in this. Here's how you can compensate for that and still stay interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, the lack of cool magical loot I could definitely see as being like oh boy, we killed the terrorists. And let me guess, they've all got submachine guns that are worse than ours. And they've got flak vests.
You know that,
great.
Oh man, how many video games have we played with that exact problem? But like, it's interesting because, you know, there's so many, you can use all of the items from D&D, but they're so specific to a lot of things that don't apply. But like, you could still get, you know, things to boost your constitution. You could technically find mithril armor on somebody, you know, like, I wonder if you add like the mithril property, you could add it to any of the armors in the game, couldn't you?
I mean,
mithril mech. I'm sorry.
That would have to be something that you would need to talk to your DM about.
Of course. No. I'm talking about as a DM. I'm not.
As a DM, I probably wouldn't let that happen with most of the ballistic armors because they're made out of ceramic plate.
Yeah, no, but you replace those plate with mithril plates.
Mithril instead.
Yeah.
I can see where you're going with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd just rather take a mithril breastplate and wear it under my shirt.
So would I, but you know.
But
mithril breastplate, one of the best armors in the game. I don't care what anybody says.
And it's not even as good as it used to be.
I know, right?
Oh, the races. Oh man. Of La Mancha.
You can add these to any game for the record.
Yeah, really. Honestly, I would say that the human in Ultramodern is the human that this world deserves, not the one it needs. Because humans, ability scores. Your ability scores each increase by 1. You can forego one of these increases for 1 additional roll on the genetic benefit table. The genetic benefit table is where these humans shine. It's the thing that makes them special.
Yeah.
Because it offers all sorts of stuff. I'm not going to go line by line through it, but I will read you some of the good ones. Has all the same basic stuff. You know, size, you tend to be medium, age 80 to 110-ish, depending on setting, medicine, all that sort of stuff. 30-foot speed, can read 1 language and 1 additional language. So the genetic benefit table is where it starts with, is where it's special.
Hell yeah.
You get 1. And you can get 1 more for dropping one of your ability score improvements.
Which I would recommend because you're always going to have a dump stat, so fucking get some more bennies.
Yeah, or you can be really, really cheeky, and the way that I've advised my players do this as well. We're not using the vigor score in this campaign, so there's no reason not to have it, be garbage.
For the record, it specifically says in the rules you can do this as many times as your DM will let you. So you can drop all of them if your DM's being just nutter butters.
It also says generally no more than 2 or 3.
It does, yeah.
Right after that. Also, it's a table, so your GM might require you to roll. But the other way that you can get more benefits, more genetic benefits, is by taking a shortcoming. This is things like bad eyes. You have disadvantage on perception wisdom checks, but only for sight-based stuff. Mm-hmm. Or frail flame. Let me try that again. Frail frame. You do not handle pain very well. Each time you suffer damage, you lose 1 additional hit point. Ouch. I mean, that can really stack up on you.
Yeah.
But, to compensate for that, there's things like my favorite one, night eyes. Finally, humans get dark vision.
Hey.
That's it. Just 60-foot dark vision. Boom. Beautiful. There's other stuff like you gain 2 additional hit points at first level plus 1 additional hit point every additional level. It's basically the tough feat.
Yeah. You get that, and then you get frail, and they even out. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh boy, what a waste of everyone's time.
Yeah, no.
But there's different stuff like that, resistance against poison or diseases. It's all sorts of stuff, and because it's tables, you can as a DM, you could have your players make sure they roll on it so that not everyone's coming with the same optimized. Yeah. Oh well, I've got the tough feat and dark vision, and I don't have a genetic or I don't have a shortcoming, so hey. A free feat and a free really good ability and +1 to all my ability scores that matter.
Well, and, again, the thing I like about detriments, and we'll get into my don't be a super soldier every single game, you having shortcomings is amazing. And I don't mean the flavor of a super soldier. I mean, for the record, that's a wonderful flavor in backstory.
You saw me leaning towards the mic with an excuse me.
Well, have weaknesses, have things that your character needs to work on, because guess what's going to be your character arc?
Working on it.
Yeah, working on it. Or, it's even more fun to be in danger every once in a while, or to know that, I might be screwed here.
Yeah, right? I definitely agree.
If you don't bring anything to add tension, you're only going to be in tension when everybody else is dead.
So aside from the fantastic human, there's a couple of other...
Oh, the variations of beastmen. Can we talk about that?
Okay, so there's two different beastmen general races. There's the animist, which is spelt really interestingly, which these are definitely more like if you ever played the D20 Modern, the old rules, like the Moreaus, named after Dr. Moreau's island. They're very, very bestial, kind of like Loxodons, Leonin, Minotaurs would definitely be the animist type.
Yeah, but there's like 13 of them.
Yeah,
you can go through, there's like rams, there's hares, there's all sorts of just fun things for you to actually look at. And they all come with their own specific benefits and detriments. They're not just saying you can be Goatman and they all have the same stuff. Like you get like ramming speed and like that.
They all have, they've got like, it's definitely very much race and subrace type stuff. So they all have a natural melee weapon, which depending on what size the critter you're based on is naturally in its own environment, it changes the damage for your natural melee weapon. And then your speed is 30 feet. If the base critter that you are descended from could walk on 4 limbs, you can do that and your speed increases to 35.
You can drop to 4 and run. That's so
drop
cool.
on all 4. Now,
really embrace the animal aspect of your character.
Yeah. And some of the different races, you've got like ape, which clearly they mean like the great apes, I don't think they mean gibbons.
Chimpanzee.
You have a climb speed of 20. They do. Now, interestingly, this system, I'm not sure if it's pre-Tasha's, but I think it might be because a lot of the ability scores are like the ape animist. Your strength score increases by 2, your con or dex increase by 1.
Perfect.
So it's not the generic kind of +2 to 1, +1 to another, or +1 to 3.
And of course, talk to your DM. They might let you do that
I'm
thing
actually
anyway. So.
Sometimes a stickler about that for particular settings where it's like, no, you're playing the race that all dwarves descended from, so these are the ability scores you get.
Or, you're playing a Loxodon. You don't get extra dexterity.
I'm the nimblest elephant on the planet.
I can sneak into the trees with nobody listening and jump all nimby bimbly tree to tree.
Oh, and the natural weapons count as finesse, light. Claws count as finesse, light, slashing weapons, and a bite counts as a finesse, light, piercing weapon. Now, the reason that's cool, they count as weapons, so you can apply sneak attack or other weapon benefit things.
Smite.
Yeah.
Imagine being a ram smiting somebody with your horns with a headbutt. That'd be sick as hell.
Well, I bring this up because the ape gets slam. You can make them do bludgeoning damage. You can perform a slam as an attack action. It requires both open hands, but inflicts 2 dice of damage. So, there's options there.
That's fun.
And they also get diet toughness.
Nice.
Or diet tough.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the 2 big races. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 sub-races just for the animist.
Whatever animal you want to play, you're going to find something in there that it applies to and is close enough for the comfort,
There is at least one bird.
Hey!
So just putting that out there. The hawk. And they do get flight.
Hey!
Oh, and there's bats. Oh, that's cool. I love bats. Anyway. Let's see. And then the other one is the splice, which is, you've got some animal DNA, but apparently not enough to make you look really cool.
Yeah, it's basically the Dark Angel. Remember Dark Angel, the fucking Jessica Alba show from the early 2000s?
Oh my Lord. Jesus. Yeah, I have not thought about that ever, actually.
Sorry, that was the big plot point was they had animal DNA, but some of them were more spliced and had visible features where she was spliced perfectly and didn't have any because sorry, I don't know why my brain went to Dark Angel, but there you go. You want to play Dark Angel?
They have is a monkey in a trench coat.
It's literally just a gibbon in a trench coat.
So they get a +1 to an ability score, walking speed 30 feet. They speak the common language. That's something that they kind of go over is there's no language of common. There is the common language. So if your campaign is, taking place in the United States in 1999, the common language is probably English. If your campaign takes place in Russia in 1940, the language is probably Russian.
That makes sense.
40? Yeah. So the splice subraces, we've got 1, 2, 3. Oh, beetle and bee. So you get bug options on this one, which I don't think you did on the other.
Diggity weird.
Yeah. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That could be a big bad Beetleborg.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Everybody liking these 90s references? Continue.
Oh so you get 15 subraces there. And then there is technically another animal subrace kind of thing, but they can only turn into one one animal, and they're weird. They're called yokai, and they draw very heavily from Japanese mythology and stuff, and they can shapeshift into one animal, but they have a bunch of strange rules, like can't drink wine or something, or you collect shiny rocks. Like,
they're really fun flavor.
They're fun flavor. If I had a player that really wanted to play one, we would have to sit down and have a long conversation over coffee about why. Some of the other cool races, they have actual robots, not just Warforged or Autonomes, which are cool. Don't get me wrong. I love Warforged, probably top 3 races that I love to play.
Hell, you're playing one currently, and if we ever get back to that campaign.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Someday
I think we're doing...
Strahd will be dead, then we'll go back. All right, continue.
Can't wait for that. So the automatons get a lot of really cool stuff, like really neat, very thematic robot type things.
The thing I like is they actually have kind of variations where you can be a C-3PO or you can be a freaking Data or
those are basically the 2 robot types. Overtly and violently robotic and human looking.
Well, also you can be like a battle bot as well. You can, you're not necessarily stuck being like, that's what I was going to say, like between the intellectual, and then you can be like a freaking...
A robot's robot?
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to think of a big violent robot, but I remember they're all bad guys, so they're kind of forgettable usually. The battle droids, the big beefy ones though, instead of the Roger, the B2s, yeah. You can be that or a C-3PO,
Yeah.
There's rules for each. Hell, there's rules. You could even be a R2 if you wanted to.
Yeah. Something that I think is kind of cool about this system also is they brought back level adjustment.
Yeah.
But it's very lightly sprinkled in. It's not like 3.5 where it's like, hey, do you want to play something that's not a human dwarf or elf? Take a level adjustment, nerd. It
took me a while. Okay, so level adjustment. You should probably explain what that means.
Oh, right.
That's not a common knowledge anymore. It took me I was looking at the book and I saw level adjustment. What the hell is this talking about? And then it clicked like half an hour later. So
level adjustment is an old wooden ship. No, it's an old rule from, I'm sure it comes from before 3.0, but that's kind of the first time that I experienced it. It basically just means that because your character's race is so powerful to start out with, that they level more slowly than everyone else. So, you can't usually use them in a level 1 campaign, but like say the campaign starts at level 2, everybody starts with their characters at level 2, but you have a level adjustment of +1. That means your character starts at level 1, but like their experience gain is as though they were level 2. So it takes as much experience for you to get to level 2 as it takes for everyone else to get to level 3.
So you're going to be you're going to be just one behind the whole time, pretty much.
Maybe not necessarily one behind, but probably. I mean, depending on how your DM, throws out extra XP and stuff like that.
Fair.
For milestone, it can become a problem.
Yeah.
And that's why it's cool that they have it, but they really limit its use. The only time it really comes up is if, at least for the automaton, is if you want to be a large robot, you can be +1 level adjustment. And the only reason that actually matters, because as many of you may know, in 5th edition, being large doesn't actually get you anything. In the equipment table, you can get weapons and have them made for large creatures so that they count as one size smaller. An example would be a heavy weapon like a minigun. It's a heavy weapon, but if you can get it specially made for a large creature so that it only counts as a 2-handed small arm, which is kind of like the martial weapon equivalent.
And if you have cinematic style, you can dual wield those.
Yeah. Ugh. But
I think I know what I'm doing next. No, I'm just kidding.
that's why large actually matters in Ultramodern, because suddenly you can start rocking out with some of the really good weapons and kind of make that the thing your character does. But the other sub-race of the automaton is the android, and I'm only going to bring them up because I really like one of their abilities. When they take damage as a reaction, they can instead take a penalty to their charisma score in place of that damage.
They take cosmetic damage?
Yeah.
That's
it's
super
like
cool.
Anytime in Next Generation when Data gets his face blown off and it's revealed that he's a robot, but he's still fine.
Oh, man.
I think that's a really neat little theme. Other races, there's the Morpher, which if anyone's ever played the old Prototype game, Alex Mercer, that is exactly what he is.
Oh God, it is an old game, isn't it? Shit.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And literally it shows you can like just fall into a biomass at some point. It's kind of like if plasmoids are cool. Well, and you can take another level adjustment to do a freaking 3rd level shifter where you can just into like a big creature or something like that. It's nuts.
They've also got naturally psychic races, which are cool because that's kind of one of the ways that you can dip your toes into spellcasting without needing to devote your archetype, ladder, class, background, all this other stuff to it.
They also have alien with the numbers filed off as one of the first races.
Oh my God. Yeah. They're alien if alien was vegetarian. They're nice guys. They're fun to be around. They want to be everyone's friend and they don't understand why everyone is terrified of them.
Yeah,
because they look like if Alien and Tarantula had a baby.
I was gonna say Tyranids in Alien.
Yeah, that too. I mean, they're definitely that sort of like, you expect to see them in the back of the book in the monster manual.
Yeah.
Not in the front of the book as playable race. And especially not with the words, really, we come in peace.
I swear to God.
And they mean it. And then there's also like a mushroom alien.
I love mushroom alien.
Like they get
Myconids.
blind sight and stuff.
Fun.
Like, yeah, they're like myconids, however you say it. That pretty much covers the races. I think I'm probably missing one, but
that's why we're encouraging you to go find it for yourself. Check your local bookstores, buy the PDFs, get the hard copy book if you want, because, with the quality of this content, we want them to make more. So we need more people than us to buy it.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in a game that is in a futuristic setting, or you just want to have some good gun rules, there's a lot of things that you can pick and choose to enhance your current campaign or start a new campaign, or maybe you just want to play a little bit deeper in the future. Maybe you've had a lot of fantasy and you're kind of like, I need a little break from the fantasy, That
is something I am going to bring up.
Oh yeah, wait, I forgot. Before we move on, ship rules and vehicle rules. How do you feel about them in this?
Well, they're better than Spelljammer.
Are they better than Saltmarsh?
They're more simplified than Saltmarsh, which is kind of nice.
I kind of like that. Okay.
Because, Saltmarsh has a lot going for it.
Yeah.
It's definitely where I first remembered my love for
your romantic
ships in
ideal.
D&D. Yeah, it's the romantic ideal of pirate game D&D.
Okay.
Which I love. But, there's only 3 positions on a ship. There's pilot, engineer, and gunner.
Cool.
So you don't have to worry about the captain, the comms guy, this, that, and the other.
And other people can lean out the windows and fire guns.
No, it says you can have more engineers and more gunners.
Oh, that's
so everyone can have a job.
Okay.
Yeah, neat. And not only that, you can also double up on jobs if for some reason you only have 2 people on a ship. The pilot can't really double up on being an engineer, but an engineer and a gunner could double up, or a pilot and a gunner could double up, especially if it's, a single man craft.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
But yeah, they're pretty good rules. They're also not as complicated as the D20 modern / future rules were for ships, because there was a lot going on there, man. So it's a little more simple, a little easier to wrap your head around than that, and it's even easier in some spots than Saltmarsh. And otherwise, it's a little more complicated because you have to worry about range categories and astronomy units or astral units or something. It's basically instead of doing light years or whatever, because from our solar system to like the next one is 4 point something light years, I want to say. Something like that. It's pretty close, but if you're moving at the speed, no, it's got to be farther than that. I did the math once, and in Spelljammer, if you were to take a Spelljammer from our solar system to Alpha Centauri, it would take you 25 years.
Well, that's why they're traveling in wild space.
Right. Wild space where you can just, wild space until you get to the astral plane where you can just breathe and fish out of space. Anyway, fuck that system.
The fact that I literally had you guys do that was fun.
They could have been better with Spelljammer. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I think Spelljammer leaned a little too hard into the fantasy aspects of the traveling, but I really like that these rules have become are robust enough without getting into the weeds, which I think is a strength of this whole system. It's robust, but it's not, there are no flow charts for anything. It's just an expansion of the rules. Like literally, once you have your D&D 5 rules, it's just more options.
Yeah. And it can be a little overwhelming if it's your first time making a character and your DM says, okay, we're doing a level 8 Weird West game, which it was for my brother. And he, after the game, he was like, well, that was really fun. I really liked it, but I had no idea about like what half the stuff I could do was, and that's where we picked a
really complicated class.
Well, yeah, and that's where we kind of figured out that if you start from level 1 and you build with you grow in the rules with your character a little bit, that'll probably help.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But let's see. So yeah, the space stuff is really good. They have rules for mechs, which is fun because right at I think it's the beginning of that section, they say that mechs are stupid. Scientifically, they don't make any sense. And, no one realistically would ever build them. However, they're cool as shit and they want them to be part of their rule set.
And people are building them for the record.
Not because they're efficient, but because they're cool as shit.
Because they're cool as shit.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, like when you're playing, that's the whole point of playing fantasy games. It's not meant to be realistic.
Yeah.
You don't exclude cool things because they're not realistic. You include them and decide why they're realistic for what you're doing.
Yeah, well, and like with all things, it's kind of up to the DM. If the DM says no, there's no mechs, then there's not. But they have, for every tech level, they explain kind of an idea or an option as to how.
Tech level zero. No, tech level 0 mech, a Trojan horse.
No, tech level 0 runs off of steam or literal magic.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Or bionic components.
That's gonna make my brother happy because he's been trying to find good mech rules forever for his mech game. So
I haven't gotten really deep into him with this because
Oh no, him just having a jumping off point. He's brand new to DMing and wants to do a mech game. I'm like, do something. So I talked him into doing a goblin game first. So.
Yeah, just do normal games, then add suits of armor with their own sets of hit points and stuff. They have power armor actually on that topic. The power armor is fun. It's kind of like mini mechs. It's got cool mechanics where you can shunt damage that you take off to your armor.
How is it kind of more like when you think of power armor, like more like StarCraft Warhammer power armor rather than like Master Chief power armor?
There's actually options for both. But the fact that you can shunt the damage off, it's not like, oh God, I took 20 points of damage. Well, the armor is going to eat all of that. There's a limit per attack how much damage the armor itself can take.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and once
before it's pierced and gets to you.
Yeah, and once the armor is defeated, it's not like it all shuts down or anything. You just stop getting some of the benefits.
Oh, cool.
There are ways to shut it down using like EMPs and stuff like that, which you're going to have to watch out for. But
screw Fallout 4. Continue.
Yeah, power use doesn't seem to be that much of an issue with it. Like there's a lot of things that require power cells to go, but for power armor, from what I've seen, it's just you put in the battery and it works for you.
Thank God.
You don't have to loot every fallen building for a fusion core.
That cool thing you really liked? Just kidding. Sorry.
Also something that's really cool that they do with the power armor in this system is they have a money cost for it. It's like $120,000 or something.
Yeah.
But also the kind of definitely not Warhammer power armor that's described as like medieval plate that's power armor. Definitely not. It counts as like 1 legendary and 2 rare magic items.
That's what it should be. So that's good.
Well, but they do that with like a bunch of the items. So that way, if it's like, well, what you're trying to think of a good equivalency in your head, it just tells you right there. So it's like, okay, so everyone else has, or if you are doing a game that has magic as well as technology, which is a fun place that I like to go.
I love that place.
It's like, well, the paladin has a dragon slayer sword and he's got, some adamantine armor and he's got a shield of arrow deflection or whatever. God, what am I going to give the super soldier character? Oh, power armor. Or not the super soldier, give it to someone who's weak and frail and sucks. And suddenly, hey, look, they're viable.
This man has played Artificer before.
Yes. Hey, man.
Artificer
walked so this power armor could run.
Yeah.
At a speed of 35 feet per round.
Yes. Yeah, dude. The Artificer Wizard is always such a fun combo.
Yeah. Beyond that, the guns. We got to talk about the guns.
Yes. When you think of guns, you think of just, buy no guns. You have your rifle, your pistol, your shotgun. What else could there be? Well,
there's so much. I won't even begin to try to cover it all. Initially, that was actually one of the things that turned me off about this game, though.
Too many?
No. I thought they sucked.
What?
I mean, when you're thinking of the damage levels and everything. So for reference,
the revolver doing 1d4.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking about that as we were still sitting here and discussing it. And they must mean like a snub 38, which again, realistically, yes, it would do a shit ton more damage than that. But in this kind of setting, that is the equivalent of your boot dagger.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. So it does dagger damage. So that makes sense. A bolt action rifle or an assault rifle doing 1d8 damage seems ludicrous to me. However, it is the longsword of this campaign style, and also they do make up for the relative weakness in damage dice with their ranges. Because unlike the Dungeon Master's Guide, these guns have, if not realistic enough range rules.
Yeah, especially for average person accuracy.
Yeah, well, even trained person, there's feats for that.
Yeah.
But, these guns can really reach out and touch someone. And sure, 1d8 damage doesn't seem like a lot for a bolt action rifle until you start plinking shots off at someone who's 800 feet away.
Yeah, I mean, just completely destroy them before they get to you.
Yeah, and then I think it's 800. It might be 6.
You can outrange those warlocks who took all of the lengthening spells. No, I'm just kidding.
I think you could do that with a sniper cannon, which is like their 50 cal, which again only does like I think maybe D12 low, but still again I've never seen someone swing a great axe at 120 feet. Or I'm sorry, 1,200 feet.
That either, you know?
Yeah.
That'd be a really big axe.
Sure, they do less damage than you might expect, especially if you are coming from like the D20 Modern, because the damage for those guns was in keeping with what they have in the DMG.
Yeah.
Where it's all 2d6s, 2d8s for a heavy caliber pistol or for a light caliber assault rifle, 2d10s, 2d12s. My favorite gun from that system was a South African anti-tank rifle that did 4d20 damage.
Good Lord.
It's it's a fucking killer.
But how do you balance that? Oh, here's my dragon. Oh, there goes my dragon. You know,
you balance that by making him fight a tank. But.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have combat specific weapons like that in a good balancing system.
Right.
I feel like anyway.
The problem with those comes from, it's really fun for you as a player when you're using those. You know, you're mowing down the bad guys left and right. But when one bad guy wins initiative at level 1, someone's dying to 2d8.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Start making death saves.
Hey, I'm gonna roll 40-20. Let's see if you survive.
Well, yeah, that too. But
wait, you're instant killed because no death saving throws. He did 80 damage to 20 left.
Well, I just mean even with the more basic weapons like the 2d6 pistols or the 2d8 assault rifles or whatever. That's
a problem.
Still gonna smoke a low constitution character. Maybe not one attack, but 2 will.
Yeah, 100%.
So it is good. I see why they dialed back the gun damages, and now that I've made peace with it, I'm fine with it. Perfect. And it doesn't bug me. And they have rules for increasing the damage and stuff and doing other things. They've actually got a whole subset of rules that I don't know if we'll have time to go into today, but it's called Ultramax, and it just makes things more painful. I mean, more realistic. That's what it is.
It's hard mode.
Yeah, it's survival mode.
Yeah, exactly. Which I really like when systems do that. The choice between cinematic and you gonna die mode, because I feel like too many systems focus on just one of those aspects. So whatever game you play in that system has to be this sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about Ultramodern as well, is you can dive into those pants wetting situations if you want to. Hell, you could even design a pants wetting encounter using the Ultramax rules a little bit. You can use the inspiration from, I guess. You can pick and choose, but
you could pick like some damages and resistance and stuff, but it would be very difficult to slip into one for a session, slip back out.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess I'm giving it a little too much credit there, but
no, it is cool to have that kind of, here's how you can play this game, like here's how you're supposed to, and then here's how you can if you want it to hurt. And that system is actually where the weapon dice start going up by 1.
Makes sense.
And like every attack adds a die of damage and like all sorts of other stuff. I don't really have too much that's bad to say about this system. There's a couple of typos and stuff, a lot of which they've caught in the errata. There are some class abilities that I feel like could have been described a little bit better.
Good transition. What are your big negative points, like if things you'd warn people about if they were to get the Ultramodern book?
It seems very complicated at first, and that could be a turnoff, especially to players who are not confident in their ability to understand rules. Not necessarily are bad players or are bad with rules, though if they're bad with rules, it's going to harm them too. But to the ones that, will look at as many options as they have and go, oh my fucking God, I'm not going to be able to get this. There's a guy that I really enjoy playing with that he's not in any of our games right now, but I'm fairly certain that when he sees these rules, he's going to pants wetting situation.
Okay. Yeah. The options adverse people. Is there anything that you don't recommend using from the system? Anything like that's that level of dislike?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's good.
Let me just scan over it again real quick.
It's funny because it is a big, intimidating looking book with a whole bunch of stuff in it. But I think, honestly, if more people thought of it kind of like Humblewood, where it's just like an expansion of the rules, like Humblewood's a lot smaller expansion with its own lore and things like that. Think of it in the same way. It's just more options. There's a lot bio weapons and crazy things like that. And I'm not talking like gases and like literally guns that graft onto your body and use your own blood as weapons. Crazy things like that.
Damage. I don't think there's anything that I'd like really warn people about. It's just there's some stuff that if I had a direct line to the makers, I'd be like, hey, what does this mean? Because I feel like tech levels for weapons should matter a little bit more. A good example here is, the bolt action rifle is a tech level 0 weapon. Yeah. It's like pre-World War I, big use in World War I. Mm-hmm. Does 1d8 damage, piercing damage, has like a maximum range of 600 feet, costs basically dirt if you're in a tech level 4 or 5 setting.
Yeah.
The plasma rifle does 1d8 fire damage. Yeah, which, it's cool. You don't want, your high power level weapons to necessarily just be one-hit KOs.
That's an itty-bitty amount of plasma damage.
Yeah.
You know what it is? The idea of it being the thing that you're going to be commonly using for different tech levels. Because, you don't want somebody starting with a bolt action if you're playing a level 5 tech game, You want somebody's weapon to always be kind of equivalent as far as balance goes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have been misquoting the bolt rifle. It is 400 feet at its maximum. So I apologize. And if the makers are listening and have made it this far without sending me an angry email, this is my apology. Mea culpa. But so here's my problem with it. The bolt rifle costs $300, 300 monies. Yeah. The plasma rifle, which 1d8 fire, 150, 600 range, 17 pounds, has the plasma property, which is really cool. We'll get into what the properties do in a second here. It does have the plasma property. Super cool. Very neat. Gives it the armor piercing ability later on.
Oh, that's pretty good.
50,000 monies.
Well, inflation's a hell of a thing.
Sure. But, it's tech level 5. So it's the highest tech level you can get.
Yeah, the year 3000.
Yeah.
Real quick, what does the plasma property do?
Okay, so the plasma property, now this system, a lot of the properties do cool stuff that grows with you as you level. So that's also part of the whole, when you invest in an item, it's not just like, oh, this is really great at level 1. And well, now that it's level 20, it's as great as it was at level 1, I guess. Plasma. At 6th level, this weapon gains the armor piercing property, which is cool because that doesn't actually negate armor class or anything. But what it does is a lot of armors give you resistance to certain sorts of damage.
Like fire.
Like fire piercing is it's the one you want because that's bullets. Mm-hmm. But it changes resistance to normal damage and it changes immunity to resistance.
Nice.
Yeah. So you could shoot a devil devils are immune to fire, aren't they?
Most of them.
Okay. Yeah. You could shoot one of them with a plasma weapon and it would still hurt. Neat. And then at 8th level, on a non-critical hit, roll 1 damage die twice and take the higher result. On a natural 20, roll all damage dice twice and take the higher result. Really neat. Damage advantage. Mm-hmm. So that is a cool property, but the bolt rifle doesn't have anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say it shouldn't have any.
It has breach.
So that makes sense. Like one thing I would say about the monies difference is that's what you're expecting for different eras as far as how valuable a single dollar is.
Well, they have rules for based on what tech level, how much things cost. So a tech level 0 thing in a tech level 5, it actually I don't think costs any money.
Yeah, you have to raid a museum to get it. Like the scarcity of those things is going to be, I think, an interesting thing to play with.
Tech level 0, you don't reduce the cost for, but tech level 1, so the basic sniper rifle, which is the exact same as the bolt action, but with the sniper property. Mm-hmm. The listed cost of gear assumes TL0 baseline. If your game's base tech level is higher, reduce the cost of all gear at and below the base tech level by 50%. Okay, so if it's TL5, it's only $25,000.
Yeah.
And then a basic sniper rifle is $150.
Yeah. But you're not getting that plasma property is insanely good. It
is really good, but there's a lot of weapons that have similar stuff or can fire automatically or stuff like that. I just think that's a lot of money for. Well,
but I hate to say it, but that's also the D&D pricing system. Think about, true. The difference between a longsword and a +1 longsword.
Fair enough.
+1 and it's 42 times as much, or something. That's kind of, and you're buying those scalings and everything for every single attack. I think the overall, I don't think it's out of pocket.
Okay.
When you put it in the full context and the literally affecting every single attack, makes it worth it.
There are other examples, and I feel like they make a really big deal about the tech level and stuff, and as they should, because your tech level kind of sets the tone for what the game is.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe it just didn't get added somewhere, but like you're supposed to add the tech level to the damage or something.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Or something like that. It would make a little bit of sense and make,
Okay, I think I know why.
Okay.
If they did the adding it to tech levels, it would restrict the monsters and enemies you could use by tech level pretty heavily, because that would just destroy the balance of your enemies and stuff like that. That's why I think adding the additional benefits on top of it, making it feel more like the different, like a +2 or a legendary sort of weapon that bypasses like that. I think that's the thought in the balancing process, because if you don't want to restrict, you can use in your balance that much by making it that much more powerful.
Yeah, that's fair. And they do that in Ultramax, I think. It's like you either add a die for every tech level, or you just add the tech level onto the damage there. So.
Yeah. I can see Ultramax it working for that, but I think in just a regular game, it's your equivalent of your magical kick-ass, super expensive. You're going to find it somewhere. You're never going to actually buy these. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, and I guess what I would do if I was going to, say run, some setting where all the bad guys are wearing the same pretty okay heavy armor and they're all carrying blaster rifles. I think what I would do is not necessarily give them the plasma rifle. Or if I did, it would be, this is such a common weapon that's freaking everywhere that they don't cost 50,000 gold or 50,000 credits, monies, because, one decent fight that your players win and they can retire on selling the 5 guns that they took off their dead bodies.
Yeah. No, you definitely. And I think that's another reason why, the enemy and looting their weapons and everything, I'd have a, self-destruct built in as soon as their pulse goes off or something tech crazy.
I would just say that, because there's such a glut in the market that they don't cost all of the money.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Especially if you're going to be selling them one, it might be, here's an issue with, this is clearly a Stormtrooper's blaster rifle. So I'm not going to buy this because if the Empire comes looking, that sort of stuff. I mean, there's ways that you can work around the ridiculous prices, lowering the price so that, just everyone has access. Or the easiest one is just make a semi-automatic rifle deal fire damage.
Well, another good thing about, and this is a genuine good thing about really high prices is it gives your characters something to work forward to and something to spend their money on. Because I don't know how many campaigns I've seen where you're just drowned in money and there's nothing left for you to buy at most any place until you get into crazy Fey markets and shit like that. So
buy and upgrade your spaceship.
There you go.
But that's, more or less all I have to say about it. Oh, the monster section, I'll just really briefly touch on that.
Sure.
It's very basic. Cool things that it has are just kind of templates you can add to things. So you can take a guy with a baseball bat and make him a demonic guy with a baseball bat, and that gives him resistance to fire. Nice. And they've got a cool thing called minion rules where, they've got the guy with a baseball bat, say his armor class is 14 and he's got 20 hit points. If you make him a minion, it'll say that 3 of him equal the same challenge rating. So challenge rating half, drops his armor class to 12 and drops his hit points to 5.
Yep.
So you get to feel like Billy Badass as the player characters when you're smoking dudes left and right with your revolver snub nose 38 that only does 1d4 plus dexterity damage, but you're still gunning dudes down. And that's kind of a way that it brings the power back into line with how powerful guns should feel, without instantly killing your players or letting them instantly kill a big bad evil guy.
And also, if they get a round of combat, big if, but the minions can make a tense situation even more tense, and then you have to focus on the ads. It actually it's really useful for action economy control for when you're running especially a big boss or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got some other cool setting specific stuff, more things that definitely aren't alien. They've got some more of those. These ones are bad guys.
Yep.
They've got some other really cool stuff shape-shifting monsters or things that take over host creatures and stuff like that.
Oh, the Brood from X-Men. Yeah.
It's they've got really neat stuff, and definitely it's not one of those where they just slapped on 3 pages from 3 different monster manuals at the end. They definitely really put some thought into cool stuff you can do and how to customize all of that cool stuff to fit a variety of situations.
You just hit on the main key beautiful thing that I like about Ultramodern is there is so many customized options to make sure that whatever type of game you want to play, from Wild West to Cyberpunk to Magic Punk to just all sorts of any one of those, you can use the options to get the exact flavor you want and a bunch of classes and things that all fit to any types of those games. I think if you're looking for something that's just a completely different flavor from your regular D&D game, but also you're comfortable with the D&D rules and you just want to expand those, don't sit down for 17 days trying to customize it, hack it out yourself. Ultramodern's right here for you.
Yeah, honestly, if I wish I'd had this system, let's say many 17 days ago, many rules rewrites and campaign ideas and such, that this was right here, not the whole time maybe, but a lot of the time. And I wish that I'd had this for as long as I've been, especially trying to DM, modern and future games.
Oh, and I forgot to add this earlier. This podcast is in no way endorsed by these people. Yeah, no. They have given us no money to talk about them, but we're going to be talking about third-party resources probably fairly often. So this was our introductory episode. We've got, oh my God, so many.
Yes.
There's so many good things out there that I don't feel like being restricted just to Wizards is
fair.
Exactly. But we won't get into the OGL or any of that nonsense this time. Actually, I think y'all have heard kind of enough for us from today, So, as always, check out all of the links in the doobly-doo. Definitely one's going to be going to the Ultramodern. No character sheet link unless I'll take a picture of the character sheet because I did this one by hand with pen and paper.
Well, I can send you a digital file and you can fill it in.
Shh, we're not doing that. And all of these kind of previews of Ultramodern, definitely go check them out for yourselves. The main thing, as always,
run the game you want to play.
Run the game you want to play, because let's face it, no one else is going to run it for you.
Yep.
You've been listening to the DM Emporium podcast. To support us, click the links in the description. Buy a t-shirt or join our Patreon. Join us next week for more builds, game running theory, and useful tips for any campaign.